Targets below. Boost down, take them out.
Alright, I need you to understand the scale of what we are about to cover because this franchise is genuinely one of the most insane evolution stories in gaming history. 500 million copies sold, $30 billion in revenue, the fourth biggest gaming franchise on the entire planet, behind only Pokemon, Tetris, and Mario. 22 main installments across 23 years. And it all started with 22 angry developers, a $4.5 million budget, and a codename so petty it is genuinely hilarious. The codename was not Call of Duty. It was Medal of Honor Killer. I am not making that up. These developers literally named their project after the game they wanted to destroy. And you know what the wildest part is? They actually did it. That franchise is dead. This one made $30 billion. And the story of how it got from a grudge match in a California office to the biggest first-person shooter on Earth is one of the greatest evolution stories gaming has ever produced. Let me take you back to 2002. A group of lead developers at a studio called 2015 Inc. had just finished building Medal of Honor Allied Assault, a World War II shooter based on a concept by Steven Spielberg himself. The game was a commercial hit, but the developers who actually built it felt undervalued and creatively boxed in. So 22 of them walked out, formed a brand new studio called Infinity Ward, and started building a rival with a $4.5 million budget and a chip on their shoulders the size of California. They spent months researching actual World War II weapons and vehicles to make their game feel authentic. And the result landed in October 2003. Call of Duty. It scored 91 on Metacritic. It won multiple Game of the Year awards. It sold 4.5 million copies from a grudge match with $4.5 million. Are you kidding me? For the next 3 years, Call of Duty stayed in World War II. Call of Duty 2 launched in 2005 as an Xbox 360 launch title. And here is a stat that blew my mind. 77% of people who bought an Xbox 360 at launch also bought Call of Duty 2. That is one of the most dominant launch attach rates in console history. Treyarch joined as a second studio for Call of Duty 3. The foundation was solid, the sales were growing, but the genre was getting crowded. Every publisher had a World War II shooter. The fatigue was setting in. And then Infinity Ward did something that changed the entire industry. In 2007, they moved Call of Duty out of the past and into the present day. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was not just a setting change. It was a complete reinvention. The campaign introduced Captain Price, Soap McTavish, and a nuclear detonation that the player experiences in first person. But the multiplayer is what rewired the entire genre. Kill streaks, prestige leveling, XP progression, unlockable weapons. If your favorite shooter has any of those features, you are playing a system that Modern Warfare invented. Every single one. And here is the detail that makes the origin story complete. Medal of Honor, the franchise that Infinity Ward's founders had left behind, the franchise they literally named their project after killing, tried to follow Call of Duty into the modern era with a reboot in 2010. It failed. By 2012, Medal of Honor was dead. The Medal of Honor Killer had fulfilled its codename. That is the most savage origin story in gaming. Modern Warfare 2 arrived in 2009, and it was not just a game. It was a cultural event. It became the biggest entertainment launch in history at the time. Not the biggest game launch. The biggest entertainment product of any kind, beating every movie, every album, every book. It sold 4.7 million copies in the first 24 hours in the US and UK alone. The campaign included the No Russian mission, which generated global controversy and is still debated today. But the multiplayer is what defined a UC's generation. The lobbies, the trash talk, the rage quits, the tactical nuke. If you were there, you know exactly what I am talking about. And then Treyarch came in with World at War and introduced Zombies, a cooperative survival mode that became its own phenomenon. Entire YouTube empires were built around nothing but zombies, Easter eggs, and strategies. Activision saw what they had and built a machine to sustain it. 3 studios in rotation: Infinity Ward for Modern Warfare, Treyarch for Black Ops, Sledgehammer Games as the 3rd team. A new Call of Duty every single November, each developed over a 3-year cycle. Black Ops explored the Cold War. Black Ops 2 introduced futuristic warfare. Advanced Warfare added exoskeletons. Infinite Warfare went to space. Warzone launched as a standalone free-to-play battle royale and pulled in millions of players who had never touched a Call of Duty campaign. Every year, tens of millions of copies sold. Every year, billions in microtransaction. Revenue. The machine was running perfectly. Every headline said Call of Duty was unstoppable. And then 2023 happened, and the machine nearly broke. It did not happen overnight. Infinite Warfare in 2016 faced a backlash so severe that its reveal trailer became one of the most disliked videos in YouTube history. Vanguard in 2021 returned to World War II and failed to meet sales expectations. But Modern Warfare 3 in 2023 was the collapse. A 55 on Metacritic, the lowest score in the franchise's entire history. A user score of 1.7 out of 10. IGN gave it a 4 out of 10 and called the campaign the biggest sin an action thriller can commit. It is boring. Players were merciless. I pre-ordered a refund. This game is absolute trash. After 20 years of dominance, the franchise that had defined an entire genre looked like it had finally run out of road. The headlines were writing the obituary. Everyone said it was over. And then October 2024 happened. Black Ops 6 launched after 4 years of development, the longest production cycle in Call of Duty history, and it detonated. The biggest launch weekend the franchise had ever seen. 50 million players by July 2025. Best-selling game of 2024 in the United States. Sales up 60% compared to Modern Warfare 3, the game that nearly killed the series. The franchise that everyone said was finished had just set records. Not just survived, not just recovered, set records. This franchise does not just survive its failures. It absorbs them and comes back stronger. Every single time. And the total numbers across the entire series? That is where your jaw hits the floor. 500 million copies sold across the franchise. $30 billion in lifetime revenue. More than the entire Star Wars film franchise at the box office. The 4th largest gaming franchise in history, trailing only Pokemon, Tetris, and Mario. 22 main installments. 23 years. From 22 angry developers to the 4th largest franchise in gaming history. Let that land for a moment. And that is the evolution of Call of Duty. From a grudge to a global empire. The developers who started it walked out of a meeting in 2002, named their project after the franchise they wanted to destroy, and built something so massive that even when the reviews were brutal, even when the user scores hit rock bottom, even when every headline in the industry said it was finished, the franchise came back and broke its own records. The greatest evolution stories do not avoid failure. They absorb it. They learn from the worst version and build the best one. That is exactly what Call of Duty has done for 23 years. Which Call of Duty was your Call of Duty? Was it the original, storming the beaches in 2003? Was it Modern Warfare, where Captain Price changed everything? Was it the Black Ops Zombies era? The modern TUS? Warfare 2 lobbies? Warzone? Tell me in the comments, because whichever one defined your era, that was the one. That was your Call of Duty. And if you think this evolution was wild, stick around. because the next one we cover might be even crazier. Subscribe so you do not miss it.